It's up to 24 minutes away from 9 o'clock. Weekly chat known as Good Policies with Barrett Insurance Agency and owner Mike Barrett together with his wife. How are you, Mike?
I'm well. How are you?
I am well. Before we roll into this week's conversation about insurance stuff, we got to get an update on young Ethan, who you guys found out a couple of weeks ago had ended up being a close contact with COVID, then tested positive for it. Please tell us there's good news here.
Well, he's back in school, and he had his first transition league baseball practice last night. He's doing really well, and it seems that his taste buds have returned to normal. So no more plugging his nose when he's brushing his teeth. So Ethan is back, baby. Pretty excited about that.
Well, that's good. I'm glad his taste buds are back, too, with grilling season here, because how hard would it be to sit there and look at a hot dog or a hamburger and say, man, I know I love to eat that thing?
You know, if you ever have many hours to kill, I'll share with you my son's eating habits, which are very strange, and he is the if you look at picky eater, his picture shows up. So when his taste buds went out of whack, that just added a whole new level of excitement for us.
Well, I'll send you then a copy of the latest video on my phone from the chicken breast that I made the other day, and that'll probably change his mind. All right, so to it, good policies. Insurance is one of the things in this world that I have yet to, even with all of our chats, get my head completely wrapped around. But, you know, we're in the spring season here. It actually feels it. It actually looks it out there. And something we haven't talked about since, middle of last summer is homeowner insurance policies and, well, extracurricular activities around the house. You know, we're talking things like, say, four-wheelers, swimming pools, and those godforsaken trampolines. What do you think? Let's talk about that.
Why not? That's a great thing. Believe it or not, insurance companies do have some input and some opinions when it comes to those types of devices. So the first one you mentioned, Jeff, is interesting. ATVs or recreational vehicles on your property. Now, bear in mind, those are not going to be in any way, shape, or form automatically covered on your policy. In fact, if you were to look at a homeowner policy, liability is excluded from motor vehicles, and any one of those recreational vehicles would fall into that definition. So if you have those, make sure you either A, specifically list them through an endorsement on your homeowner policy, which then takes that exclusion away, which is not the best way, because the better way is to get a specific policy for it. And, do some research and get a couple quotes and protect yourself, because that's the best way to do it. When it comes to deciding to get a pool, insurance companies have an opinion there, too. Is it an above-ground pool? Is it an in-ground pool? If it's an in-ground pool, does it have a diving board? Either way, above ground or in-ground, does it have a slide? Is access limited or restricted? Do you have fencing? Do you have a retractable ladder to get into the above-ground pool? Insurance companies are very wary of this. And why is that? Well, accidental drowning is going to be an incredibly hard time for everybody, and the insurance company, of course, will be there to help you out. But the insurance company wants to have some level of mitigation to prevent that from happening, which is why they ask that ahead of time. So it's highly unlikely that you'll find an insurance company that will even allow you to have a pool, or will even write you, rather. I wouldn't say they won't allow you. You can do what you want. But to ask an insurance company to protect you, they're going to ask for that or simply say, look, we just aren't willing to offer coverage for you. So it's important to do your due diligence. And I'll tell you, Jeff, I'm actually, I think equal opportunity at its best. I'm the Planning Commission chair for the town of Waterford. And this actual zoning piece predates me. I didn't put it in there, which you would think the insurance guy would have, but I didn't. In Waterford, if you have a pool, you are required by zoning in the town to have a fence. So even the town's trying to mitigate exposure, which I don't know why they're doing that, but it's there. So do your homework on that and make sure you're checking to make sure there's eligibility and no question of coverage or question that could lead you to a non-renewal situation.
Mike, while we're talking about swimming pools here, you mentioned, and everybody should have one of these, but it's horrible. We have read many news stories. We have seen videos of it up on YouTube and various news sites. Even though you have that retractable ladder that you had mentioned there, right? Mm-hmm. Kids find a way to get in the pools. Now, having that retractable ladder or having that fencing is going to keep you covered, but just because you have it doesn't mean that accidents aren't going to happen.
Right. It's never a guarantee. It's a mitigation tool, which is really meant to just help or slow down the possibility, and you're right about that. And the truth can be so said about the fencing as well. How easy is it for kids? Last night at baseball practice, every kid on the team tried to climb the fence. So kids are going to climb fences. So even if you have a fence, they're still going to possibly get over it. But it's all about mitigating your exposure and having a self-latching, self-locking, self-closing gate on your in-ground pool to prevent injury. You're doing your part at that point. It's the same. Think of it the same way as installing smoke alarms and CO2 alarms and fire extinguishers in your house. You're putting in mitigation methods to protect you and to protect the company who ultimately holds the checkbook to write a liability check out for, God forbid, if somebody gets injured. So, and then when you do have a pool, insurance companies oftentimes will have a surcharge associated with that. Just like if you have wood heat. If you have wood heat, many companies have a surcharge for that. You could be looking at $20 or $50 more a year if you went from not having a pool to having a pool. Trampolines, every company has kind of their own way. The commonality that I see is as long as you have enclosed netting, most companies are going to be okay with that. Do they like it? Most likely not. But will that meet their requirements? In many cases, yes. Could that make it so that if you're shopping for insurance, that a company or two that you're talking to don't want to write you because you have a trampoline? Possibly. So these are all things that insurance companies do have an opinion on, and it may impact your ability to obtain coverage, but it won't prevent you overall because there's always plenty of options out there.
Now, in just the short amount of time that we have left, Mike, one other thing that I'd like to, if we could, touch on. A lot of folks are finding it more and more, in their means to, like when they have a family get-together, like a family reunion or just a weekend get-together with a barbecue and badminton nets. Some folks will rent those bouncy houses, and those you don't just get delivered, set up, and everything's going to be okay.
Right. Yeah, and honestly, there's no level of preventing that from an insurance standpoint. That's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of things that happen that the insurance company may have an opinion on that there's absolutely nothing they can do about it, and that'd certainly be one of them. Is that to say you should never rent a bouncy house? No, you got to live your life. But if you could think with a level of mitigation, if you could think with a level of protection, that's the appropriate way to do it. Such is the case when my friend had a birthday party years ago, had a bouncy house, all the kids were in there, and I thought it'd be funny for the big guy, i.e. me, to go in there. Those kids, when I landed, those kids went a-flying. Did they love it? Yes. But was that my smartest move? Probably not. So, try to be careful and just prevent accidents from happening to the best of your ability.
Well, and we could probably save this for a chat, too, a little bit later on here. But if, say, a business wants to rent a bouncy house, they definitely want to contact their insurance company. But, again, we can save that for a later conversation. So let's wrap this up. Tell folks how they can get in touch with you for all of their insurance needs.
Absolutely. You can give us a call at 748-5224. Our office is on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury. You can also find us online, thebarrettagency.com, Google, Facebook, and YouTube. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency.
All right. And, of course, join us Tuesday mornings at 8:35. Mike, we're happy to hear that Ethan is doing fine. We're happy that you and the missus are healthy, and we look forward to a chat here in a week, okay?
Sounds great. Be well, and yes, we'll talk soon.
All right. Good Policies with Magic 97.7 and Barrett Insurance Agency with music now from one